I am your host, AShira Nelson, and this is Forum 360, where we have a global outlook from a local view. The total personal debt in the United States is at an all-time high of $15.24 trillion. The average person has nearly $54,000 of debt. Debt is something, usually money, borrowed by one party from another. A debt arrangement gives the borrowing party permission to borrow money under the condition that it is to be paid back at a later date and usually with interest. The most common form of debt is loans, mortgages, student loan, auto loan, personal loans, and credit card debts. My guests today are Nikita Cowan and Jeanette Spencer. These two ladies are at different points of their debt-free journey, but they are here to share their journey and provide us tips as they conquer debt. Hello, ladies.
Hi.
How are you guys today?
Good. How are you?
That's awesome. I am doing well. It's not the best outside, but hey, we're gonna rock and roll with it.
Yeah.
So I'd like to jump right in. So first learn a little bit about you guys and then get into conquering debt.
All right.
So tell me a little bit about yourself.
Yes, so my name is Jeanette. I am a full-time elementary school teacher. Aside from that, I am also a graduate student and a finance blogger.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what's your platform?
Platforms, I'm on Instagram, and I'm also, I have a website, cashandcurls.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
A little about you.
I'm Nikita Cowan. I am an accountant by trade. I went to school for it, so love numbers and everything. And that's what I do by day. I also have a blog. I just started, so it's pretty new, but it's also a finance blog on WordPress.
Okay. And what's the name? What's your name on Instagram?
The House Accountant with periods in between, so the period house period accountant.
Okay. So what inspired you ladies to build your social media platform? And I'll start this time with you.
There wasn't an inspiration. I think I was looking for more accountability outside of just myself and my husband. So I just wanted a little more accountability, and so I decided I realized there was this whole debt-free community out there, and so I was like, yes, I want to get into this. So that's where I went.
Same for me. I became debt-free last year during the pandemic, and
Congrats.
when I started, I was on like a 3-year, which I know you know a lot about it, but a 3-year debt-free journey, and learning about the debt-free community that was out there was like one of the best things for my journey. So what inspired you to start your journey?
Absolutely.
And share with the world, because that's the key thing here.
Yes.
These ladies are actually sharing with the world their debt-free journey, their numbers, everything. So
So for me, it was the same. Accountability was the biggest thing for me. So I started my Instagram page March of 2018. I was on spring break, and I was wondering, how can I share my story with the world to encourage them to get their finances in order? So I took a leap of faith, created that page, and from then on out, I started the blog, and that has gotten me more followers. So it's just up from there.
So what made you ladies actually want to become debt-free? Inspired to do that? Or, So
For me, I was always taught not really to have credit card debt, to use it, but use it responsibly. So I kind of always grew up in a household with that teaching. So I never wanted to have debt. But really, you get older, life happens. We got married, and stuff ends up happening, and you accumulate debt. And so it was really the birth of my daughter, wanting to be able to give her opportunities to indulge her passions or to travel or whatever, to have the funds to do those things. And so the birth of my daughter was very much okay, let's get serious. This is the time.
I definitely can relate.
And for me, I feel like the biggest thing for me that inspired me to get out of debt was knowing that I deserve to live the life of my dreams. I feel like my favorite financial quote is, if you can't manage 1,000, you won't be able to manage 100,000, let alone $1 million. So, I felt like if I didn't get my financial situation cleaned up, I wouldn't be able to manage more. You know, everyone always say, oh, I want a larger salary. But if you can't even manage what you already have, you won't even be able to manage more that's coming on later down the line. So.
Absolutely. So since you ladies do share with the world about your debt journey and numbers, let's talk numbers. So how much debt did you start out with originally?
So for me, I had $57,747,000 for student loan. Well, it wasn't all student loans, so it was broken up into 3 different categories. So I had $50,000 in student loans. I had about $6,000 in a car payment, and then 2 credit cards, which equaled out to about $1,000.
Okay. What about you?
Okay, so I'm gonna do estimates because I don't have it like down.
What's crazy? People always, like during interviews, would say, "Well, how much debt did you have?" I have no clue. I just knew I had a lot of. I knew it was over 50,000, and like in that range, but I never like kept track of like the interest and all that stuff. I was just wanting to get it gone, so I was just like throwing money at it. But
so that's what I did in the beginning. I wrote everything out, so I had it down to the penny. But you know, interest and this and that, so I don't really know what it is to the penny. It was over 100,000, and that includes student loans, car, credit cards, medical bills. Just pretty much everything.
And is that for you and your husband, or is that just your portion?
Yes. Oh, okay. So this is combined, everything for myself and my husband.
And I will emphasize, for me and Jeanette, our 50,000 roughly is for us individually that we were tackling. So okay. So there is So within the debt-free community, we all know about Dave Ramsey, and he has his avalanche method, but snowball method, and there is also an avalanche method. Which method did you ladies pick? I'll start with you.
I started with the snowball. Okay. For us, it was important to have those small wins. I think, and that helped to bring my husband more and more on board. Like the more small wins we had, and we can see the zero balance, it was like, okay, what's next? Let's go. Let's do this. So we definitely followed the snowball.
Okay. And for my audience, so with the snowball method, you start with the smallest balance first, pay that off, and then keep rolling and keep going and attack your larger debt. And then with the avalanche, you would start with the highest interest rate, attack that debt, and then move down the line until the highest interest rate. So what about you, Jeanette?
So I actually followed the same method. So I used the debt snowballs so that I can experience those quick wins. It was like once I paid off those credit cards, I was like, wow, okay, let's move on to the car. Once I hit the car, I was like, okay, let's get these student loans. But then I'm like, okay, I have $50,000 worth of student loan debt. I'm like, that's going to take me a minute. I'm not going to receive those quick wins as I used to.
So in the beginning, how did you ladies get started? Like, what really, like, I don't know, what was it like in the beginning? How, like, what made, like, did you just go in and make that first payment, or did you have to, like, write out your goals? How was it in the beginning?
For me, I'm still a pen and paper person. When I started in accounting, it was a lot of pen and paper. Now it's a lot of paperless things. But I adapted the habit of pen and paper. So I first went in, I wrote everything out, the exact balances at that time, so we could have a plan, so I could present to my husband, because that was my first step to get him on board.
Great point.
That was my first step, and once we did that and we started paying the small things, for me it was also important to call some of the places. We had medical debt because we had just had my daughter, and so we got some of the stuff forgiven because I didn't have a job at that point. So it was important to call some of the debtors and see what options they had.
And what did those costs look like? Like, how were they?
I would just call the number that was on the bill, and then I would let them know my situation. Hey, I don't have a job right now. Do you have any kind of forgiveness programs? Some of them did, some of them didn't, so they would offer payment options. But a lot of it for me was seeing what I can get forgiven first.
Oh, very nice.
Technique.
So that was how we got started.
Okay.
So for me, similar again, so I decided to list out my debts from smallest to largest. I am a pen and paper type person as well, so I posted that in my room, and then I also found a debt-free tracker, which really motivated me to continue on with the journey. So aside from that, I did watch different videos online where I would see other people talk about their journeys and what they had to do to eliminate all of that debt. So that's really what got me motivated and ready to start paying off debt.
Were there any tips in the beginning that really or helped you really push and get started?
So it was a video that I watched that actually started my debt-free journey, and it was by MJ Harris, titled "Don't Go Broke Trying to Look Rich." And I saw that video on Facebook, and he was basically explaining how the people that are the most flashiest tend to have the least amount of assets. They look good, they have the nice cars and the houses, but they don't have the assets to back it up if you look at the receipts. So I'm I'm trying to go down this path. I need to clean up my financial mess, live below my means, and then start to build wealth. So I felt like that video was definitely the starting point for me for starting my journey.
Okay. Was there anything similar for you like that? You just okay, I'm ready to get started.
No, it was, I wanted to do it, and I had been working my way up again. Like I said, my husband and I had been having these conversations, but you mentioned Dave Ramsey. So we had gotten really into, or I had gotten really into his podcast.
Yeah.
So I had been listening to his podcast because he releases daily, I believe.
Yeah.
So it was important to have a daily financial thing I could listen to that I didn't have to sit down and read. I could listen to it doing the dishes or at work or on my commute to work. So it was really listening to the Dave Ramsey podcast, and especially those debt-free screams. And then I would send them to my husband, and eventually he listened to them, and he was like, I want to do this debt-free scream.
Same thing for me, listening to those debt-free screams.
I've never heard his podcast before.
Well, watch the debt-free screams, because I feel like that definitely gets you motivated. So I did watch that too. I was like, oh, when I saw someone that looked like me, same age bracket, similar amount of debt, I was like, wow, this is possible. They did it, I can do it too.
That's awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So in the beginning, were you guys nervous or just excited to get started?
I was excited. I was not nervous whatsoever. I was like, we can do this. We can do this in 5 years. That was our original time frame. I was like, we can do this. We can do this in 5 years. We got this. Let's do it. So it was all excitement for me.
And how many years are you into that 5-year journey?
About three, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for me, I was a little bit nervous. This was something that no one in my family has ever done. So I was the very first one to decide okay, I'm going to clean up my financial mess. I'm going to learn how to budget. I'm going to pay off my debt. So in the beginning, I was a little nervous because I'd never seen anyone do it. I was a little doubtful, okay, could I really do this? Is it possible? But as the months went on, I felt encouraged, one, by the debt-free community on Instagram, seeing other people, meeting you, things like that had definitely helped me continue to make progress. And I think towards the end, when I reached my student loan debt, I did get a little discouraged. Only because, I set this goal for myself to be completely debt-free within 2 years. And at that point, at the 2-year mark, I didn't finish my student loans. So, yeah.
Well, I am your host, AShira Nelson, and this is Forum 360, where we have a global outlook from a local view. Today, we are talking about conquering guests, and my guests, Nikita and Jeanette, are here to tell us about their journey. Okay, so you both accomplished your goal, and you are halfway there, roughly. And what are some tips you guys have for we talked about starting the journey. What about while you're in it? How do you guys stay motivated? I'll start with you, Jeanette.
So when I was in my debt-free journey, I think the thing that really motivated me was those trackers. So I'm a visual person, so you have to make it fun. You're going to be on this journey for years. For me it was 31 months. I'm okay, I have to celebrate my small wins, and I have to track. I love tracking things. So I'm I made it fun, created a chart, started coloring in the lines.
And Guys, when I tell you she track and she color and she makes it like super, like you see her trackers and you get excited of like waiting for her to like color her little line again.
Yes.
And where can we download that tracker at?
Yeah, so I'm actually starting to create my own trackers.
Okay.
So previously in my debt-free journey, I was just downloading trackers from people online. So you can look on Etsy, get on Instagram, find someone that makes trackers, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
What keeps you motivated?
I think the debt-free community and also having a financial something to listen to daily. So I don't necessarily do Dave Ramsey anymore. Once you kind of got his things down, it's very repetitive. And I used to really like Chris Hogan, but you know, some things happened over there. And Chris Hogan is not there anymore. And so now I listen to Clark Howard, the Clark Howard podcast. So he's like loosely the same as Dave Ramsey, but with a lot more flexibility. So for me, it's the debt-free community online and just having a financial go-to daily that I can listen to kind of keep my mind focused.
So do you ladies budget? Let's talk budgeting.
Absolutely. You have to budget.
That's, okay. Nikita, how are you with budgeting? And how important is budgeting to this process?
I love budgeting. It's what I do during my day job.
Yes.
And so for me, it was very important to budget. And also because I was doing it with my husband, I knew all the numbers and stuff in my head, but I needed something to show him because he didn't have all the numbers and stuff down like I did.
And do you budget by paycheck,
I do monthly.
Okay.
Monthly just works better for me and for us. And I also do electronic. I started out with a pen and paper budget, but that just took too much time.
So where are you now with the budgeting?
I do electronic budget.
Is that an app? Or
yes.
Like
So I started with Mint, and then I moved over to Simplify Money. You had recommended them, I think, on your platform, and I went and tried the free trial, and I loved it. Because I'm very similar. I'm a visual person, so they have the visuals kind of in there, which helps me a lot. So I use Simplify Money right now, and it's very easy to just log in, show my husband really quickly, this is where we are, and he can see with the lines or the circles and the graphs. He's like, okay, boom, boom, boom. So it's really easy.
So are you guys, you and your husband both putting it on your phone and kind of tracking throughout the week?
We tried. During the pandemic, it was easier. We had weekly budget meetings every Thursday, but now that everything is open and we're back to work and our daughter's in school, it's a little more difficult to have a set day. So it's kind of whenever we have time and we're both kind of awake and not tired, I'll just pull it up really quickly and say, hey, here's where we are. This is what we have left. It doesn't take long. It used to take longer, but now that we have a system, it's like a 5-minute review. You know, it's kind of just scrolling through really quickly.
Okay. How's your budgeting process?
So I actually love budgeting as well. You know, I think I consider myself like a budget nerd.
Yes.
I see things about people hating budgeting. I'm like, I just cannot relate to you guys.
It's so much fun.
Yes, I love
and I'm so happy to have this conversation with other women, especially ones that look like me, because people don't understand. Honestly, I get joy from it. I love it.
Yeah.
I enjoy the process. I like weekly tracking and see. I just like the progress.
So I budget. I use an app. I use the $EveryDollar app, which is by Dave Ramsey. Really good. I love the visuals. You know, it's easy to track your expenses. So I use that, and it works for me.
Okay. And do you budget weekly by paycheck or monthly?
So I do monthly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Same. I thought about changing, but it just wasn't for me. And I think with this process, you have to stick to what works for you.
That's true.
And in the beginning, try different things. Because you will not get your exact method. I mean, you won't know in the beginning until you try different things. You have to it's like honestly trial and error. Can you ladies relate to that?
Absolutely.
For sure.
What are some things you guys tried during the process and it just didn't work?
That's a good question. So it took me a lot longer. You know, it took me like 3 to 4 months to actually get my budget on target, like, you know, not make mistakes and figure out, okay, I'm spending this much money here. I need to allocate this much money. So I think that was the biggest thing for me, but through budgeting, I found a love for cash envelopes. So I'm a cash person. I love using cash.
I do
so,
those too.
Yeah.
I use those too.
So that has really helped me like cut back on eating out, entertainment, things like that to help, manage my budget.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think for me, I tried a lot of different ways. So like I said, I tried pen and paper.
Yes.
And then we tried a few different apps. A couple of the apps, we started with the free apps, and then we tried the paid apps. So for me, it was like trying to find which app worked the best for our budgeting style. Especially because I manage our budget, so I had to find which one worked for me and that I could easily communicate the information to my husband, because he's not really trying to sit there. He's not a finance person, he's a creative. So he's not trying to sit here for hours and go through a budget. Which for me, I can sit
all over the place.
I can sit for hours and just go through every penny. He's like, just give me high level. What do we have? Okay. So it was finding the right app for me.
So what tips do you guys have for someone who actually want to start a debt-free journey?
Don't expect perfection the first month. Like you said, you have to really go through trial and error. You have to go through a month or 2 or 3 really of realistic spending to really see, okay, this is my habits, these are my trends, this is what I usually do, this is what I don't usually do. Maybe this is some kind of sporadic one-time thing. So just don't expect to be perfect on your first month.
That's true. And for me, I would say just to start now, like so many people are saying like, oh, I'll just do it when I make more money. But if you can't manage what you have, you're not going to be able to manage, more. But I think definitely starting now, don't wait until the new year, and just enjoy yourself too. I feel like so many people focus on the end goal, and I felt like I did that for a little bit. But learn how to just like celebrate along the way, and just to track your process and have fun, honestly.
What are some ways you celebrate it? Like your small wins along the journey?
We would go out to eat or go to a movie. Nothing really huge, but we would just make sure to say, okay, we did this, we got this one done. We would mark it out together. Or for the credit cards, we would like cut them up together. So it was just like a small, just small
make it fun.
things.
Every win don't have to be expensive.
That's true.
So
same for me. I love going out to eat. So every time I tackled a goal, I was like, okay, let's go out to eat. I paid out the credit cards. Or, I didn't do like big travel or anything like that. I saved that towards the end just so I can stay balanced and focus on that goal, honestly.
What are one of you ladies' favorite like financial tip or piece of advice? Or what is some of the best advice you receive regarding your finances?
I think, and it's not regarding the finance, but I listened to Myleik Teal. So when she was doing her podcast regularly, she would always say, just pick up what you need and throw the rest on the floor. So for me, it was really letting go of, you have to follow this particular method to the T. It was okay, I can take the principles from this method and apply it to how we operate. So for me, that was really realizing you don't have to do it to the letter. You can really focus on the principles and then apply the principles to your life and how you operate.
And I can see how that would apply for people when you start off. You really love Dave Ramsey, and his foundations are awesome. But they can sometimes be very limiting. Put you in this like box, and it's like, I've been in enough boxes. Exactly. I don't want to be placed limitations on my finances. So I love that. What is a great tip you receive?
I think one of my favorite quotes is to just a little progress each day will add up. I feel like so many people think, oh, you got to make a big payment in order to win financially. And it's the small little things that you do daily that will help you reach that end goal. So that, and then probably the Bible verse, which is a good man leaves an inheritance for his children. So, I feel like that helps me think long term and to know that what I'm doing now is definitely going to help the generations that come after me.
Nice. So I am reading, I hope I don't screw this up, the book, We Should All Be Millionaires. I absolutely love it. Wrote by a minority woman. And I also love I Will Teach You How to Be Rich.
Yeah.
One of my faves. What is some of your favorite personal finance books?
I think the one I read was Dave Ramsey, of course, because I wanted, listening to the podcast
Is that
was
Financial
fine.
Makeover?
Yeah, the Total Money Makeover.
Okay.
Yep, that was it, the Total Money Makeover. And I got the, it's a workbook that comes with it if you're just starting out,
Okay.
to really kind of walk you through and how to do these things.
Yeah.
I tried the workbook. It wasn't for me. I think because I was already accustomed to budgeting and financing
Yeah.
and stuff, so it wasn't necessarily for me.
Yeah.
But the book itself, I really enjoyed, and it really helped drive home the not the policies, but his steps
Okay.
and how to apply it to my life. Because listening to it on a podcast, he's kind of just answering questions. He's not necessarily going through
That's true.
everything.
Okay.
So to read it was like, okay, now I got it. I can apply this principle now.
Yeah.
I want to read the Budgetnista's new book, but I have not read it yet.
That's a
I want to
bestseller,
read that
yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Yes, I definitely have to put that on my list.
I agree. Total Money Makeover is a good starting place for people that don't know where to start. In addition to that, I did take Financial Peace, which is through Dave Ramsey, and I felt like it was a really great course to help you like learn how to get out of debt and then build wealth. Think about insurance and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
So,
estate
And
planning.
you are
so
a
they do.
financial peace
Coordinator,
educator.
yes,
Yes,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
awesome. Well, thank you, ladies, for joining Forum 360, where we have a global outlook from our local view. And I want to thank our guests for watching. I'll see you guys again soon.
Forum 360 is brought to you by John S. and James L. Knight Foundation, the Akron Community Foundation, Hudson Community Television, the Rubber City Radio Group, Shaw Jewish Community Center of Akron, Blue Green, Electric Impulse Communications, and Forum 360 supporters.